All right, as many of you know, I have already read the book, License to Lie, Exposing Corruption in the Department of Justice by Sidney Powell. The book is 438 pages long, and it exposes Joseph W. Bottini and the entire Department of Justice and how they withhold exculpatory evidence. They use perjured testimony on purpose. They're just an evil bunch of reprobates that need the wrath of God. But a new book has come in today. My wife noticed it and suggested I buy it. It just came in the U.S. mail, so I'll begin reading this book as well. It is 335 pages long. The title of the book is Not Guilty: The Unlawful Prosecution of United States Senator Ted Stevens by Rob Cary. Okay, I want to read to you the introduction. It says, author's note. Brendan Sullivan asked me to join him in representing Senator Ted Stevens. Brendan is the most senior partner at Williams & Connolly, LLP, the Washington, D.C. law firm where I have worked my entire career. Brendan practices law according to a set of rules that he expects all Williams & Connolly lawyers to follow. One of his rules is this: do not speak publicly about a case outside the courtroom. What's more, Brendan practices what he preaches, and so do I. In my 18 years as a Williams & Connolly lawyer, I have never spoken publicly about a case outside of a courtroom. I agreed with Brendan's rule that cases are to be won in the courtroom, not in the press. Clients are usually grateful that we stick to this rule even after a case is over, that they do not want to be reminded of a case that for most of them was a nightmare, even if they won. So why have I decided to break our rule by writing a book about a case? There are three reasons. First, the public must understand what happened to Senator Stevens. People need to know that it took the combined efforts of a dozen defense lawyers working around the clock and the active presence of an exceptional federal judge to prove that the prosecution itself was corrupt. That would be Joseph W. Bottini, Cary Loeffler, Yvonne Lamoureux, and Stephen Scrocky. Two investigations have resulted in over 1,000 pages of reports that explain how the prosecution concealed evidence of innocence from the defense. Whoa, listen to that. Concealed evidence of innocence? They wouldn't do that, would they? But neither provides a narrative of the case from the defense perspective. This book tells the story as we lived it and explains how we would have used the evidence that was hidden from us. Second, our criminal justice system is broken. You think so? It needs reform. United States versus Stevens is a textbook example of what can go wrong in a criminal case. If the government can conceal critical evidence from a U.S. senator, it can conceal evidence from any citizen. Oh, you think so? I believe that what happened to Senator Stevens has happened more frequently than most of us could imagine. My hope is that this book will lead to reforms that will level the playing field for all citizens facing criminal prosecution, especially those with limited resources to defend themselves. The third reason, equally important but more personal, is that Senator Ted Stevens asked me to write this book. I tried to beg off. I recommended a best-selling author who wanted to do a book about the trial, but the senator and his family said it had to be done by someone who had lived the case, before, during, and after. Ultimately, Catherine Stevens, the senator's widow, delivered the clincher. She said, Rob, Ted wanted this book to be written, and he wanted you to write it. So with Catherine's encouragement and Brendan's blessing, that is what I have done. Rob Cary, Washington, D.C. Hey, if any of you guys know Rob Cary, we need to make sure he knows about Schaefer Cox. That's going to be on my things-to-do list, but I could use some help. I have not read this book yet. Like I said, it's... how big is it? It's going to be 336 pages. So I've got my homework to do, but I think it's going to be full of good nuggets about how evil Joseph Bottini is, how evil Cary Loeffler is, how evil the Department of Justice is, and I'm going to keep working until Schaefer Cox gets out of prison. So Scrocky, Yvonne Lamoureux, Joseph Bottini. Remember when Nick Marsh hung himself in his basement? Do you think, why did he do that? Do you ever wonder at night when you're laying down to sleep, like, why did Nick Marsh kill himself? maybe you should think about that more often. Because the truth is going to come out, and I'm not suggesting you kill yourself. I'm just suggesting that you do the right thing and own up to the wickedness that you've done, and you just drop all charges against Schaefer. Let him make it sure that he wins his appeal. Let him go home to be with his family and his kids, and let's just end this whole thing. But if you want to keep him in prison for another 20 years, then this is going to go on for another 20 years.